Why should Eagles fans, Rhea, have confidence that General Manager Tom Heckler and personnel guys Scott Cohn and Jason Light know what they are doing as this team heads to the future?
Well, that's the biggest problem with this team is they have very little confidence. I think the biggest problem with the general manager is that Andy Reid has final say. I would have liked them to brought in a stronger general manager because, as you pointed out, you go back to certain incoming.
Well, we have a BS lane right off the bat. Hold on. Rhea gets her time, and then afterward, Dave and Rhea will be.
Get over it. I get a chance to talk, Dave. Thank you very much. You look at this, you go back to the Eagles, I'll point to their 2003 draft. They got one player from it, LJ. McDougal was obviously a bust. They didn't play anybody really from last year's draft, so we don't know if Biamiri can play or if they need to draft somebody else. You looked at what the Giants did. The Giants proved by playing 8 rookies, 2 because of injury, that you need to play these guys. Free agent, you want to go to Kevin Curtis, Jeff Garcia. They've been a huge bust. Remember Mike McMahon. They have not done well with free agency or with drafting.
I think it's important, Rita, to recognize that the Eagles, in comparison to what we want, yes, they haven't drafted well. In comparison to the rest of the NFL,
they're not in any way comparison to the Colts, to the Patriots, to the Pittsburgh Steelers.
The Patriots had nobody in the draft this year. They had one guy playing, Brandon Merriweather. They were 18-0.
And he was very good for them. He was very good for them.
Last year, the Eagles, on their active roster, underperforming team, I will acknowledge, 8-18, very disappointing. They have had, over the years, in the top 5, the number of players they have drafted who have made the team and who have stayed on the team.
They were 8-8 last year. You can draft guys and put them on your team. That doesn't mean they are any good.
8 first-round draft picks, 4 of them have been in the Pro Bowl.
How many times? How many times have they been?
All right. You still have to commend them on a 5th-round pick of Trent Cole, a 5th-round pick of Omar Gator. Brian Westbrook was a 3rd-round pick, a stud. You know, just because you don't make the Pro Bowl doesn't mean that you're not a good player. To say Kevin Curtis is a bust is the most... I didn't say Kevin Curtis was a bust. Yes, you did.
That is one of their good free agent pickups.
Actually, I think you said it, but didn't mean to say it.
No, I said Kevin Curtis, Jeff Garcia are some of the good free agents.
Okay.
That's
the way
not
you said it was...
Definitely not a bust.
However, they do have... In the draft, and I don't like to agree with Dave, the draft comparable to other teams in the league is actually good. Not great, but nobody's draft is great.
Playing these young players. I mean, why did Pumphrey wait a whole year? We want to see it being Mary. We want to see, I think young players need to see the field more. This way you can get a better gauge. Like, I think if Mary is a player, but we didn't see him last year, and in an 8-8 year, you need to see a guy like that.
And not to piggyback on what you're saying, though, man, but look at this. We're talking about, this is what we're talking about. We're talking about drafting a first-round defensive player, a defensive end, a pass rusher. We got a guy on the team, Victor Biamiri. We don't even know if this guy can play or not.
Let me get
this is the problem that we have. We're drafting the same players over and over every year.
The draft is one of the biggest problems I have with this team. When I look at this team, we really talked about the 2003 draft with LJ Smith being primarily the only player left in that draft, and really the only player to contribute of any significance to the team. When I look at the previous 5 drafts, the Eagles have drafted 44 players since 2003. Currently on the roster now, there's 22 players currently on the roster out of those 44 players that the Eagles have drafted. Of those 22 players that are still currently on the roster, 12 of them are from the previous 2 rosters. I mean, the previous 2 drafts, 06, 07. So, and these are players that are untapped. So when we're talking about building a team with depth and building a foundation, this team has missed on way too many drafts. The 03, the 04, and the 05 drafts.